It's been reported that Supermassive Games will be laying off a massive amount of people. Not really the time to make puns. Looks like it'll be around 90 people of their 150-person staff. For a company that offers such a unique gaming experience, this really bums me out. A total bummer because I find Supermassive to be very unique, and I wanted to speak on what makes them so great and how much of a tragedy this is that it's happening to them and other game studios across all of gaming. It's a total shame. You know, I like talking about stuff, and I want to rant about this a little bit. So let's do that. Like I just said, layoffs have been happening everywhere in the gaming industry, and a lot of people are equating it to how many people were hired on during COVID. The pandemic had more people at home playing games, so it was easier to hire on so many people. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, but at the same time, that feels kind of messed up to me. To watch these talented groups of people be used up and thrown away as soon as they're not able to make as much profit is kind of despicable. You can look at the former CEO of Nintendo who decided to take a pay cut so they wouldn't have to make layoffs after underperforming sales, especially from the Wii U. That's a person who cares about the video game industry and the people working under them, wanting to take care of them and take accountability for their mistakes. I'm not saying Supermassive must have been hitting some big losses here and there. If Supermassive releases a big letdown in whatever comes after the casting of Frank Stone, they could face some serious backlash from that disappointment. Now, this game had to have been made with the full team and everything in mind and had just the right amount of workers on it, so I'm sure the casting of Frank Stone will be a similar quality of what we've gotten before. And what we've gotten before is a very unique take on video games. These movie-type games, while Supermassive not being the only ones to make games like this, you've got studios like Telltale, which have had their own set of problems in the past, but have recently been resurrected, so that's great news. You also have Quantic Dream that made some great games like Heavy Rain, and then some people like Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human. I haven't played Detroit Become Human, but Beyond Two Souls was a little weird to me, but I'm a horror buff at heart, and a movie buff at that. Getting games like Until Dawn and The Quarry that focus on horror and feel like you're watching a movie or you're having an impact on a movie is, I mean, it's like nothing else. It's perfect for me. It's also perfect for streamers and content creators because they get to watch and unfold everything at the same time as their audience. They get to help make decisions together. Not a lot of games come with that level of interactivity with your viewers and your friends and everything. It's just so much freaking fun. Plus, horror games in general could be a little wishy-washy. Mascot horror games have been notoriously predatory. It's nice when you see a developer that truly understands the genre and tries to make the best of it every single game. One of the best decisions I've seen in a long time actually comes from Behavior, and it's possibly the best decision they've made since they added Michael Myers to the game and kicked off all the licensed killers. And that was bring on Supermassive to make the single-player Dead by Daylight experience that is going to be the casting of Frank Stone. I'm very excited for that project. Dead by Daylight came out at a time when multiplayer games usually had some sort of PvE or single-player story experience attached to it, so people have been kind of expecting something like this for a very long time. Until Dawn might not have been the first cinematic story-based game, but it's one of the more notable ones, especially because it was in the horror genre and it handled something like a slasher film for the first half of it. And I love the first half. I've always wanted a game that focused on a slasher-heavy storyline, and you don't see that very often. Unfortunately, I felt like the second half was a little bit shoehorned and kind of fell apart for me. It was less interesting. I think Uncharted had a similar mistake with that. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm going to keep this whole thing free from spoilers because if you haven't played any Supermassive games or watched someone play them, because you can get equal enjoyment that way. Again, that's what makes them so special and unique. You should go do that. The stories, whether or not you end up liking them in the end, are still very well crafted. The writing is always great. The acting is always superb. I mean, look who they bring on to these projects. And it's not really a focus on the gameplay, but it's not like the gameplay and the quick time events or anything that bad. That's basically all you'll get in these games is those quick time events. And some of them feel like they're very focused on just giving you cutscenes, which in its own way can be fine. I don't think it takes away too much from the games. Maybe there were some people that were a little put off by Until Dawn coming out at a time where quick time events were starting to get on people's nerves just a little bit, but the people that gave it a chance did end up loving it. It was a critical and financial success, and most people considered it a sleeper hit. But it did take a while before we got something similar. There were the Dark Pictures anthology games that came out. They were about the same, but with some lesser known actors. Once The Quarry finally dropped a couple of years ago, it faced some criticism, mostly because it was a lot more cutscenes and less gameplay, but the story there, I would argue, is much better than Until Dawn. I'm only 6 6 hours in, so the ending may completely fumble the bag and end up being a bit sour of an experience. Endings are important when it comes to storytelling. I mean, Stephen King has gotten shit for not being able to write endings his entire career, but he still makes some amazing shit, obviously. He's like one of the most famous writers of all time. And with the experience I've had so far, I know even if it doesn't stick the landing, I'm still gonna be glad I took the journey, because there's been some very memorable moments in this game. Not to say their games are perfect. I don't remember too much of my playthrough from Until Dawn, but there's no way the mouths and facial features were as weird as they are in the Quarry. Sometimes I have no idea what the hell some characters are looking at or what Emma's doing with her mouth. Like, girl, what that mouth doing? I can't speak too much on the Dark Pictures anthology games. I played a couple hours of Man of Medan, thought it was pretty good and I liked where it was going, but the dialogue was so cheesy and very strange, and the Quarry has some very strange dialogue like that as well. The dialogue writing can use a lot of work, if I'm being totally honest. Some of the lines are just so cheesy and weird, I can't tell if they're supposed to be funny or if they just did not know what to put there, so they just put the dumbest joke they could think of or the most obvious joke. It's not always like that. In the Quarry, the first half is bogged down by these cheesy, lame-ass jokes. Later on, you'll notice those jokes aren't as abundant anymore, and some of the characters do start to get a lot of development. Most notably, Jacob. I thought I was going to hate him the whole time. Again, not trying to spoil anything, but eventually his character does start to come around to me a little bit. Because of that, it has made me want to go back and try the Dark Pictures game, mostly Man of Medan, because I already have the game. I mean, they are all kind of expensive. It was like $30 for that game or something. It's possibly the horniest game I've ever played. It's like every other sentence out of their mouths is like them trying to fit a or a in there. I don't know if I could say that. I might have to bleep that. I know YouTube's weird with that stuff, but you know what I said. Supermassive Games cannot be cheap to produce. They pull some big names for these things. And if you're a movie buff like me, you just have to call out some of the names that were able to pull for them. They're incredible. Until Dawn features Hayden Panettiere, Peter Stormer, Rami Malek, and a bunch of other names. Not as big. I mean, it was their first one. It was crazy they were able to pull those guys in general. The Dark Pictures always have a lead that is somebody with at least some acting clout and some good range. Sean Ashmore, Will Poulter, Ashley Tisdale, Jesse Buckley, and the Quarry just goes hard as hell with a crazy cast with some people I never thought I'd see in a video game, but I was absolutely thrilled that they were in there. Skylar Gisondo, Ted Raimi, Grace Zabriskie, Miles Robbins, Justice Smith, freaking David Arquette, Ethan Suplee, Lance Henriksen, Lin Shaye. I mean, Ted Raimi and Ethan Suplee being in a game is just so goddamn cool to me. Then I found an article that claimed to have the cast for the casting of Frank Stone, but I couldn't find anywhere else that was reporting this. If it's true, it's gonna get even wilder with the names they can pull, because apparently on this article it said John Hamm, Emma Stone, Michael B. Jordan, and Jennifer Lawrence. Now that's a crazy cast. Those are all like S-tier celebrity actors. Like, I'm not sure if I can believe that. I feel like more journalists and websites would have reported on it, so I would take that with a grain of salt right now. That seems a little unbelievable, and I don't think I recognized any of those four inside of the trailer that we already got. I'm over here salivating for the Dark Pictures anthology series after I finished The Quarry. The casts are so damn good, and the leads they pulled were so awesome. I just have to see how those play out. It's almost magical how they get away with this. I want to take a second to read and break down what Supermassive said about the upcoming layoffs. It's no secret that the games industry is currently facing significant challenges, and unfortunately we aren't immune to this. After much deliberation and with deep regret, we are therefore undertaking a reorganization of Supermassive Games. As a result, we are entering into a period of consultation which we anticipate will result in the loss of some of our colleagues. This is not a decision that's been taken lightly, with many efforts made to avoid this outcome. We are all too aware of how unsettling and difficult this process is going to be for all of our employees, and we'll be working closely with all those involved to ensure the process is conducted as respectfully and compassionately as possible. We're committed to focusing our efforts on our core strength and upcoming titles to ensure the continued sustainability of the company. So it's basically a lot just dealing with the press and saying, you know, hey, we fucked up somewhere. I mean, you're kind of fucking up right here. If Nintendo, possibly the greediest most annoying company to release any kind of game, is able to take some cuts at the top, every studio should be able to do that, at least in my opinion. This definitely feels avoidable, and I am worried about the future of Supermassive, if they'll be able to pull the big names. If not, there are plenty of smaller names that are able to work with what they've got and make some great games in the process. It's just a shame to see passionate developers lose like this. They make games that you really can't get anywhere else, and we need to see more of. Even outside of video games, everything has gotten more expensive. People don't get paid as much as they should, especially in media. The people at the top take way too much, while the people that are cooking this shit up and making the best products that we receive, they get mistreated and mishandled. And with the video game industry being like the most profitable industry ever, according to me and what I think I remember reading about that, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and these developers deserve more. I used to be a game tester, and that job's really hard, and that's not even like making it, that's just checking it. Yeah, you're still making it. I mean, you make a lot of suggestions, and they ask you for a lot of feedback, so you still have a big hand in making a game when you are testing it. And I witnessed massive layoffs even before COVID hit, so this is not new to the video game industry. I watched friends and good people I knew pack up their shit and leave the door in droves. It's an absolute travesty that the video game industry treats people like that. When I was working in the industry, I had some friends that worked for another company, I won't say which, that used to have these pizza parties where they would bring the whole team out to party and have some food, and then at the end of it would lay a bunch of people off as they were there. They'd give them like one last hurrah. I'm not sure if they were fluffing that up or if it was some bullshit or what, but I don't doubt it. I mean, it sounds very believable with the way people act in this industry and the way everyone is just expendable. I just wanted to have a discussion about the level of bullshit that we see in this video game industry, and about how much I love Supermassive Games, and to show some appreciation for them and the enjoyment myself and my viewers and my friends have received from me playing these games on stream. They're super fun, and they're one of my favorite things to stream. I get a little sad and anxious when I'm getting closer to the end of the game because I don't want it to end. I want to know what's going to happen. I want to see how everything plays out, but once the credits roll, I may have to wait 5-6 years before I'll have an experience like that again. That is, unless I binge those Dark Pictures games. That's always an option. Pop, pop, peanut butter, butter pops. Pop, pop, pop them in your mouth. Bye. I'm pretty sure I did that all wrong, but whatever.
Oh my gosh, it can't be. The Hog of Hackett's Quarry? What?
Thought you hated that phrase.
Big jokes take big sacrifices.
You're so brave.
Oh, I just want to shrink you down to little pocket people and put you in my pocket and keep it to when I need a little pick-me-up. Okay.
Could everybody in the world, when he trying to meet, I'm on these bodies like sushi.